This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Collateral Damage, Part 4. When we left off in Dallas, Q was interrogating Miss Bernie about Veronica, her whereabouts, her family ties, and her personal relationships. And Donovan was none the wiser because he was in Puerto Rico handling the second test proffered by Manny. If you watched the bonus episode, then you know he passed that test with flying colors. But in the midst of that, Angela's baby sister, Stephanie Spencer Taylor, and her husband, federal agent and pastor, Corey Taylor, were engaged in a rather heated discussion in their quarters. So they had no idea what was going on with Veronica and the children or Donovan in Puerto Rico. They were too focused on their struggling marriage. Stephanie has not been behaving like a happily married woman, and she just let her husband Corey know that she plans to replace her Uncle Manny at the helm of the Lopez family criminal enterprise. And Corey was not at all pleased with his wife's revelation or with what he saw as his wife's detachment from their unborn baby. While the baby she's carrying is not biologically theirs because they accepted Angela's last remaining embryo, fertilized using her egg and her deceased first husband Marcus's sperm, before she became spontaneously and naturally pregnant with her baby boy Angel, the unborn baby that she's carrying is absolutely theirs, both legally and in the eyes of God. Now, if you watch the short story Unhinged, then you know that Stephanie and Corey, also known as CT, have been in one another's lives since they were children. They started as friends, but Corey had romantic designs on Stephanie long before the two became an item. Stephanie was too busy being young and free to take CT seriously back then, but eventually they found their way to one another. And they managed to maintain a friendship throughout the years, despite CT's refusal to tell Stephanie what he knew about the Lopez family. When Angela was kidnapped by her big sister Jessica some seasons back, it was Corey who helped Stephanie figure out where Jesse might have taken Angela, using that information that he'd obtained from Manny and Weinstein back in the day. So Corey has about 14 weeks to get his wife's head on straight because she's 26 weeks along. She is clearly on one. So while Donovan was doing his initial surveillance of the two security guards in Puerto Rico, Stephanie and Corey were having it out. Corey said, "When I married you, I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. I knew that I was marrying a strong, independent, non-traditional woman, that I would have to be the priest and the conscience of this marriage, and that if I wanted the marriage to be successful, I would have to make some concessions. This cannot and will not be one of them. I did not marry a Queenpin. I'm a federal agent and a pastor, Stephanie." Stephanie said, "I thought you were retiring from the feds." Corey said, "But I'm not retiring from the pulpit. And even if I did, the call on my life is such that ministry will always be a part of it. How do I face God and tell him that I let my wife sling dope, commit murders, and pay her tithes using money that she earned illegally?" Stephanie said, "You don't tell God that you let me do a damn thing. You married a grown woman who can speak to God for herself." CT said, "Stephanie, please." Stephanie cut him off and said, "Please what? Please let you control me? Please let you decide what role I'll play in my family? Isn't it ironic that you knew who my uncle was? You knew all about my family, and you kept it from me for all those years." Corey said, "Come on, you know why I didn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. I'd given Manny and your mother my word. And if nothing else, my word is my bond. You keep acting like I hid some deep, dark secret from you just to get my way." Stephanie said, "That's precisely what it looks like." Corey said, "No, it looks like I was trying to keep you and your sister safe." Stephanie said, "No, you were trying to keep me out of the life and in yours. You knew damn well that had I met my Uncle Manny and found out who I was and what my family was on, that I would want to be a part of it. You knew that I would be willing to take over. You were trying to stop that. That's why you did what you did. You bided your time. You watched me be with other men." And Corey cut her off and said, "I watched while you sowed your wild oats and believed God. He said that you were my wife and that eventually you would grow up, that eventually you would desire what he wanted for you, a husband, a family." Stephanie said, "So God told you all that about me? But he forgot to tell me, huh? And you just waited on the sidelines, waiting for me to get tired of being wined and dined and flown out till I got tired of playing and being played with. And then what? You scooped in and saved the day? Played Captain Save-A-Ho and saved me from my sins? Corey said, I didn't say that, Steph. Stephanie said, you want a damn prize for waiting for a woman like me to choose you? I bet you wish you would have listened to your mother now and married you a nice church girl. It's not too late, CT. You can throw in the towel. Defeated, Corey said, my vows were till death do us part. I meant that. Did you? Stephanie walked out without even answering him. She hopped in her car and headed to the Vibrantly You warehouse, where she works for Angela as her public relations manager. After looking all over the warehouse for Miss Bernie, she finally stopped in at Regina's satellite office. Regina is a business attorney. She has her own firm in the Dallas area, but since Vibrantly You is one of her main clients, she has a small office at the warehouse. Stephanie said, Gigi, have you seen Bernie? Regina said, she had a virtual meeting with Angela earlier, and then she just abruptly walked out, and she ain't come back yet. What's up? Stephanie said, I needed to talk to her about this campaign and her ideas for how to market Q's secret scent. He wants to unveil it with some video campaign of him catering to my sister. I need to know where they are on development. Regina said, talk to her assistant or the assistant chemist that's been working on it. As the two women talked, Regina started packing up. Stephanie said, you done for the day? Regina said, girl, yeah. LJ called and said that MomBrenda wants to see me, so I'm going to go ahead and head to the hospital now. That way she can get some rest this evening, and I can get home and help my children with their homework. I've missed so much with them. I'm just trying to make up for lost time. If you watch season 8 Queenpin, then you know that Regina was kidnapped and she was missing for months. When she was finally found, she was hospitalized and in bad shape, not just physically, but psychologically. So much so that she couldn't even stand the idea of her children seeing her in that kind of condition. Stephanie said, how do you do it, Gigi? Regina said, how I do what? Stephanie said, run a business, service your clients, be a wife, and a good mother. Regina said, oh, that's simple. God, patience, commitment, coffee, and wine. Lots and lots of wine. Both women laughed and she said, no, seriously. Having a career and a family is a lot of work. It's not easy at all. It requires a lot of sacrifice. Sometimes it requires more than I have to give. So I just give it my absolute best. But I remember that even my best comes from God. When I'm all out of steam, when I face something that's too much for me, something I don't know how to handle, when the weight is too heavy, I remember where my help comes from. And before I ask for help, I thank God for the help I already have. I thank him for the fact that I'm not doing this all by myself. I don't have a husband who thinks that parenting is a woman's job. You know what I'm saying? Stephanie said, yeah, I feel you. But sometimes I don't feel like I'm cut out for this. Feel like I'm in over my damn head. I don't know if I was made to be anybody's wife, let alone anybody's damn mama. Gina said, well, Stephanie said, and don't you dare say that God won't give me more than I can bear. Gina said, girl, bye. First of all, that's not even true. So why would I even say that? He absolutely gives us more than we can bear. If he didn't, how would we ever come to the realization that we can't accomplish a darn thing without him? What I was going to say was, God will never put you in a position where he doesn't also provide the provision. Stephanie said, why you sound like an old lady? Regina said, that's something MomBrenda taught me. My old ladies be knowing some stuff. Think about it, Steph. What use would it be for God to give you a husband and a baby and set you up for failure? If you have in doubt, then the question shouldn't be how will you do the job? It should be, did God give you the job? You should have been asking how to do the job before you accepted it. Stephanie said, so you asked God all them questions before you married LJ? Regina said, no, I never even considered LJ. We were just friends. And one day he pissed me slam off, and I was done being his damn friend. I told Angela what he did, and she said something like, everyone isn't disposable, Gigi. Both women laughed because Regina sounded just like Angela. Some people are worth more than they cost. When your sister left my apartment, I thought about what she said. And I also thought about all of our years of friendship and all of the ways he'd shown up for me, all the things he'd been there for me through. And then I realized something. He'd actually been a better friend to me than I'd ever been to him. When I went to call him to apologize, his phone was busy. But that's because he was trying to call me too. When he showed up at my door, I heard this voice say, "Hush." Girl, it scared the hell out of me. When he told me that he thought I was the one, I have no idea what caused me to ask him this, but I said, "What did God say?" And then he said, apparently he thinks the same. He sent me here. Stephanie asked, "But how were you even able to give him your heart after all the things you already knew about LJ? Because I know he been around." Gina said, "I knew that I'd heard God, and I knew that God would never compromise me. I might compromise me, LJ might compromise me, but God would never." I made it clear to LJ that my father had done my mother dirty, and my mother struggled raising me by herself. She did welfare, the projects, the whole 9 yards, until she could get her degree and move to the suburbs where we all lived. And I would not be a single mother. I wouldn't be anybody's baby mama. And I would not put up with no cheating man, because I cheat back. You go low and I'm going to take it to hell. The two women laughed and Regina said, "But seriously, I also told him if he ever put me in a position where I had to choose between me and him, I'd choose me and leave him stuck, sucking his thumb and crying for his mama." Yeah, I knew all about his past, but he also knew just how dirty I'd done men who thought they could play with me. He also knew that I loved him before we were ever an item. And he knew that losing me would be worse than losing his life. But what was more important was that I knew he loved me. And no matter what he'd done, or who he'd been with before, or what difficulties we would face, he would never intentionally hurt me. We became a team. We were in agreement about what each player's role would be. And we also understood that that would have to be fluid, because life happens. We were clear about our expectations for one another and for ourselves, and what the non-negotiables were. And we both respected one another's boundaries. And when we got married, we agreed that divorce was not an option, because we wouldn't do anything that would violate the boundaries and non-negotiables of the other. And it hasn't always been a walk in the park. We fight. But when we fight clean. And when necessary, we seek wise counsel. That's one reason why I got to get the hell out of here, and we can finish this conversation another time, because I got to get to the hospital. I can guarantee that MomBrenda is going to have a whole lot of wisdom that she's going to be willing and ready to impart on my current situation. Stephanie asked, "What's going on?" Regina said, "Why? You can't help me, girl. Clearly you could barely help yourself. Make sure you take your turn at the foot of the throne that is MomBrenda, because you clearly need it." When Regina arrived at the hospital, MomBrenda held her like a baby and let her cry her eyes out. Regina said, "LJ and I have been intimate quite a few times, and it's certainly been enjoyable, but I've had a very difficult time relaxing and giving myself over to it. And I know that he can tell that something's wrong, but I just can't stop the flashbacks. It's hard to fully relax, and I just feel so dirty, MomBrenda. I want to be able to enjoy my husband again and do all the things we used to do without feeling ashamed. As it stands, when we're done, I could barely even get sleep." Using the tablet, MomBrenda encouraged Regina to pray about it, to talk more with her therapist about it, and to talk with the Queen Mother about it, because she'd been there. When they were done, MomBrenda asked her what is going on with Donovan and Veronica. When Regina goes to tell her the same thing that she'd already heard from everybody else, MomBrenda cut off and said, "Call Angela right now on speakerphone." When Regina calls Angela, she gives them an earful. She tells them about what's going on with Veronica, the fact that Donovan doesn't know, and that Q and LJ have already started their investigation. Q is over at Veronica's searching her place for information, and LJ and Miss Bernie are headed to Moline. Before he left, LJ called the facility where his baby sister Rennie has been committed. Last season, Rennie was able to get Veronica to keep quiet about what she observed over at the hotel in Fort Worth between Rennie and Q. And LJ knew that the only way she could have done that was if Rennie knew something about Veronica.